plums. These little beauties can be found pretty much all over, from residential gardens to hedgerows all over the world. They are, in fact, one of the first fruits cultivated by humankind, with certain varieties only popping up around settlements and never in the wild. So intertwined with our lexicon are they that us oldie English types often use the word plum to describe something that is generally desirable or perfectly balanced, as in, "Good lord, that Jack's got a plum job." Today, however, plums have fallen somewhat out of vogue in the UK in favour for their more Hollywood cousins of peaches, apricots and nectarines. In the rest of Europe, plums have been used for centuries to create very special spirits that play important roles in local culture. They tend to be locally made and very high in ABV that will certainly put hairs on your chest. The rest of the world knows this as rakia or palinka, which are more generic terms, but they're in the same vein. There are about 40 varieties of plum worldwide, from the wild and intense sloe through to the sour ume of Japan, all the way until the incredibly sweet Mirabelle. With such a vast array of flavours available when talking about plums, it gives us a really good base of experimentation if we want to make some cocktails with them. Now, I always break my drinks down into 3 sections: super simple, where no special tools are required; mega tasty, where we might have to make a syrup or something; and ultra fancy, where maximum effort is required. With all that being said, we should probably make some drinks, but first, we need to do some prep. Alright, so the first ingredient we're going to be making is a Victoria plum shrub. Victoria plums are very well balanced and are considered a particularly good culinary plum. And we're going to capture that bright flavour in a shrub. A shrub is actually an old school technique for preserving flavour using a vinegar fermentation. The great thing about this simple method is that it develops flavour over time and actually stabilises itself, so you don't really need to be that accurate. Start by halving and destoning 300 grams of Victoria plums. I usually leave the stones out for local squirrels to stash away for winter. Pop the plum flesh into a large-ish jar and cover with 300 grams of raw apple cider vinegar with the mother. That's the collection of yeasts and bacteria floating around here. Give this all a little swizz and then set it aside for 48 hours, turning it over once or twice a day for the vinegar to break down the fruit and absorb its fresh, juicy deliciousness. Make sure you label this with the weight of the fruit that's in the jar. This will come in handy later. In the meantime, let's make a drink. So the first drink we're making is a Mirabelle Smash. This is a kind of whiskey smash, which is a super easy way to incorporate fresh fruit and herbs into drinks. Start by halving and destoning 2 Mirabelle plums. These tiny little beauties are the sweetest of the dessert plums, and they are traditionally used to make the delightful pudding clafoutis for all you bake-off fans out there. So to a jar or shaker, add your 4 halves of Mirabelle plums, 6 Thai basil leaves, which adds this wonderfully bright anise flavour. 50 ml of Glasshouse Whisky. This is a non-peated Highland Scotch with appley toffee notes. 20 ml of freshly pressed lemon juice, and 15 ml of gomme, which is a heavyweight 2-to-1 sugar syrup. Add plenty of ice and give it a hard and fast shake to make sure all those plums and basil are thoroughly smashed. Hence the name. Strain out into a nice IKEA rocks glass full of large ice cubes. Garnish with a sprig of Thai basil and sip slowly whilst reminiscing of sunnier times. This is the Mirabelle Smash. Cheers. Alright, so back in the prep kitchen, we are going to make a Reine cloud syrup. This syrup acts as a flavour bomb for a punch that we'll be making later. The whole idea here is to heighten and expand on the killer characteristics of these Reine cloud plums. Shout out to the amazing folks at Natura, without which I would have never come across these beauties. These plums are syrupy sweet but have a lick of acidity and are somewhat firmer in texture than most. Start by toasting 2 whole star anise with 25 grams of flaked almonds. Also add 25 grams of finely chopped ginger. Add in 350 grams of our Reine cloud plums, which have been destoned and chopped. The zest of an entire lemon, 5 grams of flaky sea salt, 400 grams of caster sugar, and 100 grams of water. Bring this all to a soft simmer and simmer away for 1 hour. Set it aside to cool for an hour or so, and once cooled, push through a muslin cloth. First, it might not want to go through, so you might have to give this one a bit of a squeeze. Don't worry too much about properly clarifying this, as we'll be filtering it again when we make our drink. What you should be left with is this loose kind of jam thing. Stick it in a jar, put a label on it, put it in the fridge, and we'll use it later. Let's check on that vinegar. All right, so back to the plum vinegar. It's been resting for 2 days now, and it's ready to be filtered. As you can see, the plums have started to break down, and the vinegar has taken on this wonderfully ruby hue. Filter the whole lot through a fine mesh sieve and then a coffee filter. The whole idea here is to skim off as much of the particulate as possible. Remember that label that you put on the jar that said how much fruit was in there? Well, now we need to add that amount in caster sugar to complete the shrub. In my case, 300 grams. Stir until the sugar dissolves completely, and then bottle, label, and refrigerate until needed. At this point, it'll be shelf stable for at least a year, and in fact it'll become slightly more sour over time, with extra nuances and flavors revealing themselves after resting. Alright, so let's make a drink with it already. Acorn Antiques. This little beverage is a perfect opportunity to show off that killer shrub we just made, which is sweet and sour and outrageously delicious. So to a jar or shaker, add 50 ml of the delightful Tapatio Blanco Tequila, 10 ml of freshly pressed lemon juice, 20 ml of our Victoria Plum Shrub, and 10 ml of gomme. Add plenty of ice and shake until nice and frosty. Fine strain into a highball glass filled with cubed ice, and then top up with ginger ale. Give the whole thing a quick swizz, garnish with a lemon wheel, sip and enjoy this bright tequila highball that'll get you questioning why tequila and plums aren't a thing already. This is Acorn Antiques. Enjoy. Alright, so the last drink we're going to be making is one that'll take at least a day to make, but trust me, it's totally worth it. It's called the Perseverance Punch. This is what's known as a milk punch, which means it calls upon some form of milk that not only adds mouthfeel and decadence to the finished cocktail, but will also completely clarify it. To make this, in a Pyrex jug, add 90 ml of our Reine Claude plum syrup, 70 ml of freshly pressed lemon juice, 180 ml of the delicious Kirk & Sweeney 12-year-old rum, which is super oaky, and it also has these candied plum notes, 45 ml of creme de banane to add that bounce of funkiness, 180 ml of Wiper and True milk stout. This adds a sweet, toasted, malty base to the whole thing. 4 big dashes of Bitterman's Burlesque Bitters, which is slightly floral with hibiscus, but it's got heaps of spice in there as well. And finally, 5 ml of absinthe for a bright top note. Whisk everything together until completely homogeneous, and then, in a separate bowl, add 180 ml of milk. This can be any type of milk. I'm using an unhomogenized cow's milk. Now comes the fun bit. Smoothly and confidently pour the cocktail mix into the bowl of milk, gently stir until the mix forms little tiny curds, and this is what we want to form the raft that will clarify the drink later. Looks delicious. Pop all this in the fridge for it to chill out and marry for at least 2 hours, but preferably overnight. Once it's chilled, it'll look something like this, which is good, even though it doesn't look too appetizing right now. Set up what I call a comfortable filtering rig, something that you can pick up and move easily because this thing will be filtering for a while. It's a really good idea to put a smaller bowl inside your large bowl as well. This will come in handy very quickly. Start by pouring as much of the chilled punch mix through the filter as possible. Wait a few minutes until the liquid starts to run clear and the milk curds have formed a raft on the inside of the filter. So if you put a smaller bowl inside your larger bowl, you'll notice what's been collected is really murky. At this point, you can take that bowl out and pour it back through the filter. It will clarify everything from there. Once it's running clear, that's it. All you have to do is leave this to slowly drip through for the next 8 hours or so. Don't be tempted to squeeze or stir it, as it will affect the final clarity. Once filtered and clear, bottle, label, and keep in the fridge or freezer for up to 6 months to serve whenever you're ready. So, let's have some, shall we? To serve this drink, simply pour into a chilled glass, or you can pour over ice, garnish with some edible flowers if you're feeling extra fancy, and enjoy this uber complex, rich, and warming punch that'll keep opening up and expanding as you drink it. Congratulations! You've finally made the Perseverance Punch! Cheers. All right, there you go, team. 3 drinks exploring the depth of flavor of the often overlooked plum. Something I've come to enjoy very, very much. I'm gonna be making some plum puddings in the future too. So thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you wanna see more in the future, and leave us a comment down below detailing the one thing that you wanna see us tackle in the future. But until next time, take it easy, be good, love you, bye.